That's my secret, cat. I'm always angry.
Alright. I ran out of patience. On the roost!
Hey everyone, Captain, big fan of Spider-Man.
Avengers! Assemble.
Hello, Peter.
Hello and welcome to the Infinity Saga and Beyond, an MCU fan podcast. My name is Jordan Wiegand, and with me breaking down What If, Episode 7, Jack Seeperstout. How are you?
Hello, doing very well. It's been an exciting day. We just finished watching up the Nintendo Direct, which was pretty cool, but we're not here to talk about the Nintendo Direct. We're here to talk about What If Episode 7, which was quite an interesting one. Maybe not the best one, but a pretty interesting one.
Yeah, was the Direct better than this episode or not?
I think they're about equal. I don't know. I can't really place where it would be.
So like I said, we're talking What If Episode 7, which is called What If Thor Was an Only Child, directed by Bryan Andrews, like always, written by A.C. Bradley. We had two back-to-back episodes not written by A.C. Bradley, so we're back to A.C. Bradley now. Originally released September 22nd on Disney+. Runtime of 35 minutes. Synopsis: Thor, who never learned to be a good hero, throws an out-of-control intergalactic party on Earth. What's your initial thoughts, Jack?
I thought it was kind of cool to see, them kind of revisit the events of the original Thor movie in a way that I thought was, well, at least it had some more characterization of the characters than the original Thor movie did in some ways. But I thought the most interesting part about this was more like the cameos and stuff and, ultimately the ending rather than like the journey along the way, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I thought this would look. So I watched this one at like 11:30 last night. So I was having trouble staying awake anyway. This one was not that satisfying, I guess. It does have some funny moments. It has a great middle fight as well. But I think the resolution leaves a little to be desired. But we'll get into it, I guess, here. So the crux of the episode, right, or the nexus point is that instead of Odin taking Loki back home with him, he returns him to his father Laufey, and Thor never grows up with a brother, so he's kind of like the spoiled rotten kid, right? That's what he's kind of like. He's kind of like a rich white kid whose parents, own a ski resort or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what he reminds me of. Some preppy kid that goes to some posh school or something. He doesn't get sent down to Earth in this. He actually just goes when Odin is in Odin's sleep. He leaves to do a party, throw a party. Frigga goes for a girls' night. So that is that's kind of the setup for what happens here. Not a lot to actually cover in this. I mean, like, his arrival, we kind of get the same sort of opening as Thor, where Jane and Darcy are working on, the studies and stuff, and she sees that they land in Vegas, and they kind of do this nice fake out that I appreciated, where Thor's like, get ready for the end of your dull lives, like as if he's gonna be like a dictator, and then he's like, because we're gonna party. It's pretty much what he does there, and he throws this party in Vegas, and it just kind of gets out of hand from there. And we have acting director Maria Hill trying to stop Thor. She's acting director because the guards like knocked Fury clean out.
Not the guards. Korg.
Oh, that's who it was. Yeah, it was Korg.
Yeah, he went in. Was it to do a cannonball? I think into a pool.
Yeah,
and he just like barges through and knocks him unconscious. So
yeah. The perfect way for you want to have a have somebody not be the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore, knock him out by running to go do a cannonball. And so we have Maria Hill trying to stop Thor, and they pull out the old pager.
The beeper, yeah.
To page Captain Marvel to try to take him out. But, while all this party stuff's going on, we see Drax, we see Nebula, we see Rocket at some point, right, the next day.
Yep, passed out in a sink.
In the sink. We hear in the background Thor talking about how he's a rabbit. We get... what else do we get? We get Howard the Duck.
Yep, Howard the Duck. Who
stole the show.
Yeah, he gets married to Darcy, we should say. So there is that, which is kind of it's kind of funny for that whole thing. And
that part was good. I mean, I liked them get married, and anytime Howard the Duck shows up, it's a good time.
Yeah, and there's a ton of other cameos. Like I can't remember exactly what they're called from Guardians 2, but like the hive mind type thing, like I can't remember what they're called. I want to say Sovereign, but that's from Mass Effect, and that's not that's not the right thing. So I can't quite remember what they're called, but they're like a golden and all of that.
Yeah, I think they are the Sovereign.
Are they called the Sovereign? Okay, I couldn't quite remember, but yeah, they're there. The Skrulls, we see Skrulls.
Yes, they turn into Thor.
Yep, and we also see Mantis, which is a bit strange given that this happens way before Guardians 2. So how she got away from Ego, don't know. But somehow that is the case. Maybe this takes place at the same time as the T'Challa Star-Lord episode. Maybe they're in the same universe, and he went to go pick up Peter, and she's like, well, I'm bored. Let me go party on Earth. Who knows? Yeah,
no Star-Lord, right?
Yeah, no Star-Lord.
And yes, you were right. It is the Sovereign race.
Right,
so your instincts were right, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's right. But yeah, Sovereign is also a Mass Effect thing. I think people just like using that term in science fiction, actually. But yeah, so we get a whole bunch of cameos like that. Those were a lot of fun. Howard the Duck, like I said. Also, I was at Best Buy the other day. They have a new 4K release of the Howard the Duck movie.
Oh no. So you can see the terrible movie in just
I almost bought
quality.
It just to bring on the show and show you. I was like,
Oh my god. This Howard the Duck was infinitely better than the one from the 80s. So.
Yes. Seth Green voices Howard the Duck too.
Yep.
For people that don't know that, he also voices Joker in Mass Effect. Whoa, what are these ties to Mass Effect here? But yeah, it was. We get all that, and we find out Loki and him are still kind of bros, but they're not like bros. They're bros from another mother.
Yeah,
as Loki's going to say here. But it changes their whole dynamic. They're not. Loki doesn't feel like kind of under the shadow of Thor because he's also his own person. He's still a prince, right? He is the next in line for Laufey, so he's not really that concerned about anything. But it brings Carol Danvers to Earth when Maria Hill pushes the beeper, and they're going to confront Thor, and Carol actually gets defeated, right?
Yeah, they play out a really actually interesting fight, I think.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good fight.
The animation where they're like fighting in the clouds and you can see like the lightning and Carol's powers like through the clouds was absolutely beautiful. And yeah, she gets defeated, and we get a bit of a callback to, I believe, I can't remember which movie it is, but when Thor places the hammer on Loki's chest after he's defeated to kind of like keep him there. So a bit of a callback to that. Maybe, but still, I think it was a really interesting fight.
A bit of a
Because-
continuity error.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
So before Thor gets sent down to Earth, Odin strips his power and then enchants the hammer that only Thor can lift it, or whoever possesses the might of Thor. So before that, anybody could have lifted Thor's hammer. So in this, unless if Odin had enchanted this for another reason, she would be able to get up.
Interesting. Okay, I have not watched the original Thor movie in quite some time, so I forgot about that part. But
yeah, so the writers,
you're right? Yeah, I mean, yeah, fair enough. How can I be expected to remember it if the writers don't? So there we go.
It's a little thing. I mean, you can excuse it away, but it's a thing because this Thor never really seemed to piss Odin off enough where he would have done that. So I mean, I guess unless if he had, if you can infer that maybe the other party that Thor threw that damaged that whole star or whatever that they reference a few times, unless if Odin got mad at that and did the same thing, but he never learned from it, so he would never have gotten his hammer back. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's just a continuity error.
Yeah, probably.
So they're going to go ahead and suggest that Carol fights Thor in a less populated area where they can safely use both their full powers. She'd be able to use her full power. Foster, Jane, is going to say she wants to go she doesn't want Thor to die. This was the plan, right? They're going to kill Thor.
Yeah, they were going to nuke him.
They're going to nuke him. Yeah. Kind of dark. But Jane is going to contact Frigga with Heimdall's help, and Carol and Thor begin the battle. Thor wins Carol over, where she's not going to. She even lies for him for Frigga, so Carol will come around. One thing I did like too is that they made fun of the reference of that she should smile more, because that's what some idiots had said about why they didn't want to go see the movie anyway, which it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I loved that. When I heard that, I was like, I see what you did there.
That's the best joke in
that was fantastic. It involves a lot of context to get it. But
yes, but even if you don't have the context, you have the context from. Doesn't somebody tell her that in the movie too?
Maybe.
And she steals his bike, isn't that? I'm pretty sure.
That sounds possible.
Pretty sure she does. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she steals his bike. But anyway, it's also a reference to a real world thing too. But this is where it kind of falls apart for me, is that the whole end of the movie, of the episode, is Thor trying to clean up before his mom gets home, which is just a weird premise. It's like kind of reminds me of like the end of Ferris Bueller, where they're trying to get back home. One thing I did like was just what reminded me of the Ferris Bueller thing was the cuts back to Frigga going through the Bifrost, and it just kind of then cutting back to Thor and then cutting back there. I also really liked how all of the countries had their name on it when they're kicking each other to each country. Yeah, I just thought it was a cool stylistic choice. But yeah, Frigga interrupts, and they don't use the nuke, and Thor's trying to get people to help him clean up. Loki doesn't want to clean up. He's like, "Hey, that's not my mom. That's your mom. Yeah, I don't care." Right? And Frigga arrives, and Thor is studying. He's like throwing together this like class for his other aliens
in Rome. A little class in Rome. On a
he even cleans up the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Yep.
Straightens that out. But and then Carol comes in and she's like, "Oh, hey, here's the stuff you were looking for." Now Jane is going to prompt Thor to ask her out on a date. But then, right when you think the episode's over, and the Watcher's like, "Hey, they live happily ever after." Or, wait, nope. They don't. An army of drones led by Ultron in his vision body, you know, the one that they were building for him, and wielding all 6 Infinity Stones.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it ends. And I think now we definitely have all the pieces, I think, together.
Yeah.
Of where we're going with this. What are your thoughts on the ending?
I thought it was it very much mirrors like the WandaVision sequence, because episode 7 of WandaVision is where like everything comes together, and like that's where like Agatha reveals herself to be Agatha Harkness, you know, all of that kind of thing. So like everything is starting to fall together, and you know, I loved like even like with the Watcher in this part, you know, he like he's been getting closer in every episode, right? He turns around and starts to fade out a little bit, but then turns back and gets and gets a little bit closer again. And so I think it shows that same pattern that we've been seeing throughout these episodes, which is really fantastic to see them continue. But I'm very excited for the last 2 episodes here, because I'm still not quite sure how they're going to fit everything in, because it depends. If next episode is the Vision one, right? Vision Ultron. Then what's the last episode? Because it wouldn't make sense for it to be the Iron Man on Sakaar thing.
No, I think that one may have been the one that got pushed back.
That's you know what? I think that might be right. So if that's the case,
what we get is Thanos Gamora next.
Right. Oh yeah.
And then I think we'll get here's my hypothesis. All right. So we get Thanos Gamora next. Then what I imagine is that we actually won't see the alternate Ultron world. Like, I don't think that's going to be the finale. Because we also have post-apocalyptic Black Widow at some point, too, unless that fits in with that. But what I think I think with Ultron coming into this world, I think what I'm thinking is that Ultron won in Avengers Age of Ultron.
Right.
He took over Earth. Now, so when Thanos comes, Ultron does what he's designed to do and protect Earth from the aliens and, you know, take out the bigger threats. And he defeats Thanos, takes the Infinity Stones, and then continues his mission to rid the whole multiple galaxies of humans, you know, because that's what he determined, was that humans were always going to cause the issues, right? So I think then that's why he expands into these other universes. Or he goes just power hungry, I guess. But I think it might be that he's... I learned that there's more universes now that I have these stones. I'm going to go, you know, make sure nothing bad happens in those. I'm going to take out all of them. Because he's not like a bad guy, right? He just calculates. And his calculation was that humans are going to mess everything up. And I think that is where we are headed. So I'm not sure if we'll actually see the world. But that's my thought on it. Because I saw somebody say, like, well, who would Ultron have sacrificed to get the Soul Stone? And I think he doesn't have to, because he'll get it from when Thanos came. I think is the main thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Otherwise, maybe he just like...
Tony, his father, or Bruce, you know? Like, that's what I'm saying.
Maybe. Yeah. I think it'll be... I mean, if it is Tony Stark, that would be hilarious, because that would be yet another episode in which he dies. Right away. So... You know, I wouldn't count that out of the picture, really. So, but I think it would be, it's really interesting as this wraps up, because I think you're probably on the right track with that. Because I feel like that Vision Ultron combination, that has to be the finale, because that's especially appearing in like the end of this episode. It almost guarantees that it is going to be the finale. So I'm just interested to see how they tie everything together, because clearly with that mid-season trailer or whatever, they clearly do tie all of these things together. It's just a matter of
like we mentioned,
how is it going to happen? Like,
they have Ego absorbing Peter in the trailer from the end of episode 2. Mm-hmm. They have Party Thor with Strange Supreme and zombies. So I mean, like, they're really going to mix it all up, and I think that's where the Watcher will come into. So like that, I think also is why the Watcher is not going to just sit back. It's not just that Ultron's Earth is getting destroyed, but he's going to these multiple realities, you know, destroying them or whatever. And he's like, you know, maybe he takes out Thor's reality and you know, the Watcher has to pick Thor up from there and put him somewhere else and say, you know, we're going to build the Guardians of the Multiverse and we're going to stop Ultron from his treachery as he comes in.
Yeah, because I was thinking afterwards, like, given what we see in the trailer, right, and given what's happened in this, at the end of this episode, you know, we can understand how Vision Ultron gets between these different timelines, right, like, and different realities, but how would you know, the others get there? So yeah, I think that's when I think you're right. That's when the Watcher will have to intervene. And he'll, you know, kind of like be like, all right, we're gonna pluck Strange Supreme from this reality, you know.
Yeah, because there's nothing left from his anyway, right? So
Ant-Man's head from this reality, Star-Lord T'Challa from this one, you know, and
it's just all the people he's been watching. He's like,
yeah.
I've seen what these people can do. You know, I mean, look, let's not count this out. T'Challa was able to talk Thanos out of his plan, right? Like, so I mean, like, there's reasons why he might be like, I gotta go get him. I gotta go get Captain Carter. You know, I gotta go get Strange Supreme because one, he asked to help. He said, you know, Strange Supreme even says like this whole, you know, the whole universe shouldn't suffer from my mistake. So he knows he's learned his lesson. And it's like, if you want a second chance, help these people. Who else do we have? We have Party Thor, which, I mean, he's not even at his full strength, so I don't know what he'll really bring to it, but we'll see, I guess.
We could get Peter Parker with the Cloak of Levitation, you know.
Good.
Who else is there really? I'm trying to think. Killmonger wouldn't do anything. Probably. I don't think he'd care.
No, but we do see Shuri and
right.
Pepper in Wakanda, so maybe he pulls somebody from there. Like,
all right, so that's a possibility. Who Yondu potentially from the Star-Lord T'Challa episode?
Maybe
Steve in the Hydra Stomper.
Yeah, I think we get Hydra Stomper too. Yeah. I don't know though, because it's in the remember she landed in the future after that. So
well, I guess, but it is like the Watcher able to like go back in time into realities and stuff like that? That's what I don't know.
I guess.
So it's possible.
we'll have Thanos Gamora,
right?
That can probably help out.
I'm trying to think of all the other episodes.
The one where they all got killed. We could bring people from there.
We could. The murder mystery one. There's Captain Marvel and Captain America in that reality. So there's a lot of possibilities here.
Yeah, I mean, and in the trailers at some point you see them do like the circle thing too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Avengers 2012, but I don't remember all who they were showing in that. So I guess we'll see. I could probably even look it up. But we'll have Black Widow from this next one, I think, too. So
right. So oh man, there's just so many possibilities that are going to pop up in these next few episodes of, just.
Oh, okay. So Guardians of the Multiverse is what the merch has been saying. And I'll just tell you who's on it, okay? Because we've gotten pretty much most of them. We'll have Black Widow.
All right.
We will have T'Challa Star-Lord, Party Thor, Captain Carter, Strange Supreme, Thanos Gamora, it looks like, and Killmonger.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
That's the most interesting one, because I'm really struggling to think of how they
he wanted
him to do anything, right?
He wants to take down oppressors. Wouldn't Ultron be an oppressor? Maybe he's thinking, hey, if I want to be able to take over Wakanda, I got to make sure it exists, right? So, I mean, that might be where they go with it.
Maybe, but I won't complain.
I don't know.
If it means we get more Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger. I know you're not a huge fan of him, But I think he's an interesting enough character, so I'm excited to see more of that.
Well, I think they can make him interesting with this. Like, I think Killmonger's just so one note at this point. Both things we've seen him in, he's like, I just want to take down people and, send these weapons to commit terrorism, or, like, he doesn't like, he doesn't. But if he's like, hey, I actually have to team up with these good guys to make sure that I can continue to be a bad guy after this is over, like, that's interesting. And I would like to see that. But yeah, that's my theory. I think the Watcher's going to bring them together because he's worried about this Ultron wiping out not just somebody's world, but multiple people's realities, and it's changing too much. And I think that might be when he decides to interfere and decides, you know what, I've been watching these 8 people from these 8 episodes before this one, and we're gonna put this together.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just imagining the final battle scenes from this, and it's gonna be so good. I'm so excited to see how they how they make this all work and everything.
I'm super excited, but I think this might be our shortest episode yet. Party Thor. Any other thoughts on it? I mean, not much happens. The biggest intrigue is at the end, which we just kind of speculated on. But
yeah, I mean, there's not a ton else in this.
It was funny, but I mean, there wasn't a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I like how it borrows from I can't remember. Why can't I remember the director's name from this? You'll probably from all the 80s movies, Breakfast Club type stuff, Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
You know the kind of movies I'm talking about. For the life of me, I can't remember the director's name.
And now you're saying that, and I'm blanking too. Like, why am I blanking on this? But it's John Hughes. Yes, John Hughes.
Right, John Hughes. it borrows from a lot of the tropes of those kinds of movies, and I loved a lot of those movies.
Also, it felt a little Hangover.
It did,
yeah. Vegas and waking up with Rocket in the sink and stuff.
It did, yeah. I love that movie as well. So I liked how it kind of. This one felt like less of Marvel fan service and more of some broader.
It felt
media
like a parody.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
it didn't feel like an actual, it didn't feel like something that would actually happen in the Marvel universe, right? Like, Thor is scared his mom's gonna come home is pretty much the plot line. And he threw a party late at night. It is while they were out and they said not to, right? Like, that's kind of the plot of it, which does feel very 80s or very Aaron Carter music video-ish, if people understand what I'm saying there. But I get your point, but I think it felt more like a parody, with some of the humor and stuff. It wasn't like it's tough for me to imagine this episode actually taking place in one of the universes.
Right. But I think that's kind of the nice part about What If. It shows the broad range it can really take on these things. We saw it take just retelling type stuff, with Captain Carter, to creating brand new stories that could exist in the universes, to the kind of stuff that would never happen in the Marvel universes but are just funny nonetheless. And so I think that's what makes What If such an appealing series, because it's just so varied. You could easily make infinite amounts of seasons of this. And you'd still be able to come up with ideas. I think that's one of the best parts of it. And I will say one other thing about it is I thought that Jane and Thor had a bit more chemistry in this than they did in the original Thor movie, and especially in Thor: The Dark World. So that was kind of good to see that fleshed out a little bit more, or just a little bit better, I guess, in general. So
yeah, I mean, one thing I was going to say, because I saw some people really not like the episode, is unfortunately this is what you get with oh man, what was I had the word anthology series.
Yeah.
You know, like Twilight Zone or like this, where some just hit and some miss. And I saw some people say that Zombies was their favorite one and that Strange Supreme was their least favorite one. And I've seen, you know, people say this one was their favorite one and people say this was their worst one. So, you know, I think where this kind of falters as well, and why it leans so much on the cameos, is one, I actually feel like in this time the runtime was too long. I kept looking at my phone like, this is still going, and especially because I was tired. Especially because I was tired, I was like, how much longer do I got this episode? But it was like, okay, and one, it's retelling Thor 1 again, and that when we get those type of episodes like Captain Carter or this one where it's retelling the movie with just a slight twist, those seem to drag a little bit more, I think, or have pacing issues a little bit more, because like, and why it leaned on the cameos was, okay, remember if Thor 1? Well, just imagine instead of Lower Nevada, he lands in Vegas, and he lands in and he throws a party with all of our crazy cosmic characters, but he still falls in love with Jane, and he, you know, it's like the same beats at times.
Yeah.
So I think that's where sometimes we run into those type of things. But
yeah, it's definitely not my favorite episode, but it's also not like, I wouldn't say it's my least favorite. I really like all of these episodes. I haven't had one that I've really strongly disliked, I guess.
I think
the best way to put it.
Again, I've liked all these. My least favorite probably still Captain Carter. But I would probably take this one over Zombies. I think I think the comedy in this was better than in Zombies. I think Zombies comedy was a little out of place at times, but I think this one got the comedy better, but I think it's because it was different comedy. It was the 80s style, like you said. It was a very different style of humor when, you know, in Zombies, they are, you know, Ant-Man watches Kurt get murdered and he makes a joke about her being a man-eater, you know, which is like, okay, I'm pretty sure Scott would be a little terrified right now, but, you know, whatever, a little sad that Kurt died, but I feel like this was more in place. And I think one thing that elevates this too is that battle between Captain Marvel and Thor, which it was great to see, because the more we see of Captain Marvel, I think the more we'll get to like her. I know some people don't like her, but I mean, I enjoyed the movie Captain Marvel, and I got a magic band of it even during that time. So I'm all in on Brie Larson and Captain Marvel, but hopefully they just, you know, she continues to get more stuff. She didn't voice her in this, but you know, that they can kind of, I like how they've used her, 2 or 3 times in this of, hey, there's that pager again. Like, that's pretty cool that they're using it multiple times like that.
Yeah. I really enjoy it. And I hope that, you're right, that it does lead to some more appreciation for Captain Marvel, because I feel like it's such a good movie that gets overlooked constantly because of, you know, some toxic people who have very wrong and backwards opinions on how the world works at times. So, you know, I agree. Yeah, I think it's nice that we see some more Captain Marvel, even if it's not Brie Larson, but still, it was pretty good to see all of that.
All right, well, I guess that about wraps us up. Where can people follow you, Jack?
Yeah, at jcprasad16 on Twitter, and at Final Third Show if you're interested in soccer podcasts and stuff like that. So that's about it. I don't have much else to promote, really. But yeah.
You can follow our show on Twitter at TO Infinity Saga. You can email us marvelplusrecaps@gmail.com or facebook.com/Infinity Saga Beyond. and we will be talking episode 8 of What If, as we only got 2 left.
Wow.
And then I get a little bit of a break here before Hawkeye, so that'll be nice. But yeah, that's everything. So thanks for listening and enjoy.